All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Everything NYJ. I'm your host, Italy Jet, and with me is it's round two with Jets Chaos, talking about the trade deadline, talking about the Patriots game, talking about this upcoming week. Jets Chaos, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I've recovered. I'm over the. I'm not jumping off cliffs anymore or anything like that. Starting to think more positively and thinking ahead,
Yeah,
and what we got to do to turn this into the best season possible.
I agree. I agree. Now, I'm guessing you've been keeping in track with all of the trade deadline stuff today as it ended at 4 p.m. Eastern. What did you think of it overall? We talk about the Martin trade as well, but what did you think of it overall?
No, I mean the worst thing is that even though I don't know it's going to work out for them in the long run, but for the short term, the Dolphins got better. There's no question about it. They
Yeah,
got better.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and so that's not the greatest thing. I like that Chicago had a fire sale because we do play them this year. So maybe they'll be just completely depleted of anything by the time, and just had given up the season by the time we play them because I'll take easy games any day of the week.
Very
So,
good.
and I like the trade we'd made, like I know it doesn't make us a better team now today, but it just it shows you who Joe Douglas is and how he constantly thinks of the long-term plan. And to me, that's how you build a sustainable winning team over time. So the fact that he's already adding pieces to 2024, I mean, he's thinking long term. He's making sure that we're going to have picks and draft capital whenever he can, whenever he sees an opportunity. And Jacob Martin was a guy who, frankly, I think became less valuable or needed because of Huff. I think Huff really has risen. We already knew we had Jermaine Johnson. He wasn't a sure thing, though, rookie year. We already had, JFM, but if Jermaine Johnson wasn't ready to really contribute, we made sure because it's such a vital part of our defense and our scheme that we had defensive guys who can get to the quarterback, who can create disruption. What happened is Jermaine Johnson, he'll come back from injury, was doing really good at setting the edge and, and doing his role in the early downs. And Huff has been incredible. Huff has really been awesome. JFM, aside, you take away the penalties, has been very good. So the way it's worked out, we just don't need Jacob Martin. Nothing against him. He did fine. He did everything we asked of him. But to have a guy that's not going to be a long-term part of your team and just let him play out the season where he's not really contributing to the team in a positive or negative way because he's just, we just have too many guys, make a pick out of it. Make a pick out of it. So now we take a 2024 fifth round pick and it becomes a fourth round pick. So good for us. Later on down the road, it might not feel it now, but there's going to be a day where we're picking, and we're going to be really happy we're picking in that spot rather than 20 spots later or 25 spots later or whatever it's going to be. We don't know, but it's going to feel good at the time because especially the way JD picks. Because look what he did this year in the fourth round, right? Look what he did last year.
Exactly.
I mean, look at our fourth round picks. We've gotten Michael Carter, the running
hmm
back.
hmm
We've gotten Michael Clemens, who's already contributing and looking like he's going to be a solid player for us. We got Max Mitchell, who's looking like he's going to be possibly a right tackle of the future.
hmm
And then you go back to last year, like not only Michael Carter, we got Michael Carter the second, even later than that in the fifth round. So we know that Joe Douglas can find real pieces in those rounds. So it's significant. It means something.
I couldn't agree more with what you said. I also think the reason why we also got Jacob Martin was because maybe he was thinking, maybe we get someone now in the off season that he wouldn't know if you can get his guys like JJ2 and Clemens in the draft. So I totally agree though with when it comes to Huff. Huff has been one of the biggest surprises for a lot of people, but I think guys like me and you, I'm not surprised that Huff is doing very well. I'm more surprised that Shepard is still getting in and out, but he's really good at his position. One of the brightest stars, Huff, and also Clemens and JJ coming into their own. And I know a lot of people are thinking about why is Curry still here, right? I think Curry is here because of his role as a veteran. I think JJ2 talks about it all the time in his interviews and everywhere else. I think he still can contribute in those ways. But Jacob Martin, I think, was also the odd man out. And I still like the front four on what we got as well. I do want to tell you something about the Dolphins too. Like I knew we weren't going to get Chubb, right? Like we didn't really need him too as well. But like when they got Wilson Jr., it's like, okay, all right. So they're stacking up San Francisco running backs. So I just think, do you think now, because of this trade deadline, and we didn't really get anybody, are we kind of screwed facing against the Dolphins because of what they did today?
No, I mean, so here's the thing. Like we already, I mean, unfortunately, we know there's no hope. I mean, it's already a done deal.
Right.
We lost AVT and we lost Brees Hall. Look,
Exactly.
there's no way to minimize that.
Exactly.
It's because we're okay at running back, but Brees Hall wasn't okay. Brees Hall was franchise altering,
Exactly.
and he's out until next year, and that's a
Hmm.
bummer.
Hmm.
But we still may get. I mean, it looks like by that time we're gonna have Max Mitchell back.
Exactly.
We might have. I don't know if he's gonna be a functional Fant, but because I don't know if the knee
Exactly.
is gonna heal or not, but we don't know. So, but if we get strong at tackle again, if Fant does come back and they rest him enough, because I don't think they should rush him back if Mitchell can come back. So if Mitchell can come back, you stick him in at right tackle, you go with Brown, you hope Dwayne Brown stays healthy, and you run with that. But if Fant comes back, you give Fant enough of a rest and he's healthy. Now you got whether you keep him there as a swing or whether you say, Dwayne Brown is, he's hanging by a thread with he's injured and he's playing hurt.
Hmm.
Um, so there's concerns, but if we can get healthier on the line and get some continuity,
Hmm.
our defense is good enough that we can compete with any team in the sense that we're not doomed because when you have a great defense, you're in every game. They'll keep you in every game. So it's going to be hard. We're going
Hmm.
to be underdogs, but you know what? If our secondary shows up and is able to handle the weapons, because let's face it, they're two major weapons,
Hmm.
Waddle and Hill. If we can continue to contain those two guys, and if our defensive line has one of their games and Tua is running for his life and we're just harassing Tua,
Hmm.
we can win.
I
We
agree.
can. So, but it's going to be hard. And I knew it was going to be hard even after we beat them at home. I knew that going to Miami was going to be tough. I never thought we were going to sweep Miami. I was always really content just to say, let's just split with Miami. Like it was my goal. My hope is we'd split with them. And now we're hoping for more. We're raising our expectations because we got the first win. We're not going to say, okay, that's it, we're done. Obviously, we're going to want more, and we're going to hope that they win. But I don't think that they're doomed. We'll see. And more injuries, like not knock on wood. I'm not rooting for any injuries for any team, but we don't
Right.
even know what the situation is going to be by the time we play Miami. We don't know how many of their guys will be hurt. Our guys will be hurt. Who's going to be healthy? That's the way football is now. You can't look ahead too far because you don't even know who's going to be playing.
Exactly. Game by game, week by week, day by day. I mean, these big stars are keep going out like crazy. I mean, you just never know with injuries, never know with family, and you never know if someone wants to request a trade. Um, so going to Zach Wilson, I know you've talked on your show about him, and even other shows talking about Zach Wilson. And I know people know my feelings about Zach Wilson. I want to know your overall view of what you saw of Wilson and what do you think he needs to do this week in going to the Bills before the bye week? What does he need to do to be successful and bounce back this week?
Um, well, we know it's going to be a tough game. And I knew before this stretch started. We all
Hmm.
knew. We looked at the schedule. We didn't know New England's gonna be so good against the pass, but then they're the second best against the pass. We knew already that Green Bay, Denver on the road, and then we go to New England. I mean, where we play New England at home, but we play the
Right.
second. We knew this was going to be a tough stretch. We tried to get away from the game plan for 2 weeks because I guess we try to, not look too predictable and do it a third week in a row, which ended up being a mistake.
Mhm.
Now we go into a game against another ridiculous defense. But the reality is we have to hope that Zach Wilson plays against them the way he did last year. He kept us in the game last year. When you play a team like Buffalo, um, sometimes the best you could hope your quarterback could do is take opportunities when they're there and make some key plays, some clutch plays to get it done for you, and to just not lose the game for you. And then it's just, are we going to be the defense that's able to stop Josh Allen? You know, it's not an easy game, and
Mhm.
it's not a game to judge Zach on. Except if he throws 4 picks, then we got a problem. You know, if he continues to run for his life and then not get rid of the ball on time and then throw it up and throw interceptions, that's a problem. But
Right.
if he shows his discipline, I love that when he's in the pocket and the pocket breaks, he can sense it, he can get out. If he and he doesn't he if he's able to realize it and give up sooner and understands, hey, you were in the pocket, you broke out of the pocket, you saved us the sack, get rid of the ball, you kept the next play manageable. I don't care if half the Jet fans don't understand that and say he stinks. Look, he just runs and throws the ball away. I
Yeah.
don't care about
Yeah.
those fans. Those fans don't know what they're talking about, and
Exactly.
unfortunately, people were, every Jet fan or all fans are at different levels of knowledge and understanding of this game,
Right.
and he needs to not get sucked into this. I gotta play hero ball. I gotta save the day. I
Yes.
gotta make something happen.
Yes.
Like, no, you did your job. You snapped the ball. You stayed in the pocket for as long as the pocket was clean. If nobody's open, you go through the progressions and you break like he does, and you start rolling out of that pocket. You do not at that point have to force it. If you roll out and someone's open, great. You bought yourself a couple extra, moments there for someone to break free. If nobody breaks free and there's a guy coming at you unblocked, you just throw it away.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean,
Mm.
I couldn't agree more with what you said because everyone is always up and down about the quarterbacks for the New York Jets. I mean, we can talk about Sam Darnold and we can talk about Mark Sanchez. We can talk about Zach Wilson and even Geno Smith. Time. It's one of those things where I personally, for me, I will not say anything until the end of the season because I always evaluate everybody at the end of the season because this guy has only played 1 year. He's been injured twice. He has a crappy old line to work with too. So once you get all those guys back, it makes a huge difference. But yes, he is playing hero ball, and he's throwing it away to people that aren't even in the field. He's throwing him out of the field and throwing him, like, I guess, in the field. Sorry, I'm mixing my words. But I think with Zach Wilson that he needs to do, he just needs to relax and have confidence in himself that he can do this because Wilson, there was highlights of him doing really well. I mean, he came back and scored a touchdown, and it was really nice. The two to Conklin, right on the ball, right on the money. He's got the arm. I think it's just more of the confidence that he needs to continue to take this team because it's still a long year. You got a bye week that can rejuvenate a lot of people. That can rejuvenate a lot, not only after the Bills, but everything else. So, what do you think about the run game with James Robinson and Michael Carter? How do you think that their impact for one another will carry them after the bye?
Well, I think they're both very competent. Good. I mean, if we didn't draft a running back, Michael Carter, I was perfectly happy with him being the guy. But that
Exactly.
being said, unlike Brees Hall, the differences with guys like Michael Carter and James Robinson, they're very good packs. So I'll talk a little bit more in detail about James Robinson when I think about him. But understand this: if you're not if you're not Henry, if your name's not Henry, if your
Mm-hmm.
name's not Adrian Peterson, if your name's not any of these guys,
Yes.
you are your offensive line.
Exactly.
Right. So now
Exactly.
Michael Carter avoids first contact. He gets extra
Mm-hmm.
yardage. He's really good at that. So and actually James Robinson is as well. So they're guys that and James Robinson got hit 1,000 yards his rookie year, or I think it was his rookie or second year with a crappy
Yeah. Second
Jacksonville
year. Yeah.
offensive
Yeah.
line, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it was
Yeah.
2020; they had no offensive line, and he still got over 1,000 yards. He was the bright spot of the team. And if you look at the tape, he's similar to Michael Carter, and he doesn't go down at first contact, which is he
Right.
gets you it. He fights and he makes something out of nothing. What I
Mm-hmm.
love about James Robinson, other than that, is he's actually an excellent pass blocker.
Yes.
So when you use him, he can actually be trusted to block linebackers alone, not just a chip. He actually could stand up and block. And there's lots of footage. We
Mm-hmm.
looked a lot of game film. I do it with my guy Dom C, who breaks down a lot of game film. There's a lot of film on him doing that. He is not just a willing blocker. He's an excellent pass blocking running back, which is great for Zach Wilson. It's great for our team. I think Brees Hall was developing into one because he's that kind of special player.
Yes.
But he wasn't at James Robinson level in that area. So James
Mm-hmm.
Robinson is the best pass blocking running back that we've had in a long time on our team. And I think if people pay attention to it, you're going to notice it and be excited about it.
When that trade happened for you, Jets Chaos, appreciate you being on the show. What kind of thing were you thinking? Because we're thinking Brees Hall. He's out. He's franchise quarterback. Reminds a lot of people of LT Marshall Faulk. Was this the kind of trade that was like, we're not giving up on our season, that we could still get the wild card? What kind of trade did this mean to you?
Yeah, it showed that it's a balance.
Correct.
We're not the Rams. We're not a team that's going to go throw away the future and throw everything we have into winning the Super Bowl this year. We're not that, but we're also not a team that's saying we have no chance to do anything this year anyway. Let's just sit and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We're a team that's in the middle. We're a team that's, hey, it would be great. Every win is confidence. It helps the team believe in itself. I think you never give up totally. There's always the dream. Cincinnati made the run last year, so you never totally give up on that possibility. But the reality is what you're thinking is, we'd love to make the playoffs because it's undescribable how important it is for the young players.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you lose in that playoff game, just to get them in that environment, get them in a game that's the world watching.
Exactly.
He understands the importance of that, right? And if you get a playoff win, that much the better. So to me, it's like, okay, we're going to do whatever we can do to win as many games as possible this year, without compromising the future and what we're building for long-term success. Now, we turned Blake Glassman into a pick and basically ended up turning him into pretty much James Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
So understand, we still have our 7 picks next year. We didn't, so the value is there for JD, right? We didn't compromise the future.
Mm-hmm.
We actually got a guy we could sign next year and have a 3-headed monster. Can you imagine? Because Brees Hall might not be ready week 1. He might be ready week 6.
Exactly. Right.
So if he comes back week 6, you still got James and Michael for the first 6 games. And then what do you go to? You have a 3-headed monster. You have James Robinson, Michael Carter, and Brees Hall. So, and plus, when you come back from an ACL, you don't want to carry the ball 20 times. So it's good. We can just shift it around and and use those guys, and we could bring Brees Hall back the right way. So look, I think it's JD working his magic again. If you the biggest mystery about this trade is, why in the world did Jacksonville do it?
That's true, though. It's one of those things where, Travis Etienne is doing very well for them, and I see that that they want him to be the future. But he did come back from an injury, and you never know what that's going to do, because with the Jets' history as well, as you know, we have had injury problems, and they go out and they come back. It's always good to have that kind of depth. So with them, it's like, okay, we got Etienne. What are they going to do after that if he gets injured again or whatever happens? So I love that 3-headed monster, because now the running backs in the league, it's always a 1-2 punch now. So it's, one of them goes out, the next one has to rise up. has to rise up. Now, me and you, we talked a lot about the Patriots game, right? Like we hate the Patriots. I got history with them. You got history with them. When we lost against them, did this kind of fill your fire more that like this could be a totally different team that we can win against them later this year? Like, was this kind of like, man, fuck this shit. I'm ready to do this. What were your thoughts?
I'm more confident than ever we could beat the Patriots. I mean, look, the rule is stupid. I'm not blaming the ref on that roughing call. That was JFM's
Thank
fault
you.
because it's our players' responsibility to understand the
Thank you.
rules. The
Thank
rules,
you.
right? You could hate the rule,
Yeah,
right? You could hate a rule, but you have to follow it.
exactly.
And JFM did not follow it. There was
Exactly.
this wasn't one of the things where there's nothing he could have done. Like if he would have tried it, like going at him full speed, he throws the ball and JFM does everything, but still bumps into him and knocks him over.
Exactly.
Then you want to protest to the league that the referees changed the game. The
Yes.
referees did their job. They called a penalty that was a penalty. And we could fight over the rules, and that could be the owners can do it, and the fans can complain about the rule and whatever. I'm sure, and believe me, with all this controversy with these calls about roughing, it's going to be part of the winter meetings.
Exactly. I agree.
Guaranteed. Whatever meetings they call it, baseball's winter meetings, but
Yeah.
it's going to
Right,
be
right.
it's going to be part of the meetings. There's no question about it. The reality is JFM literally lifted up his hands.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and-
You could see the motion.
Right,
The
right.
motion. Yeah.
And he pushed him over even though he didn't have the ball. That was stupid.
Exactly.
That was stupid. Nothing good could have came out of that. So it's a 17-3 game if that doesn't happen. And that whole Zach meltdown does not happen, I promise you, because it's a different game. Because Zach, if we're winning 17-3, no longer, even if New England comes back in that second half, and that changes too, we don't know what would have happened. Again, totally different game. But no matter what happens, we're not in the position where Zach has to play hero ball. And that's where he got himself in trouble. Because if he has a lead, it's much easier. Think about it. If you're winning and you're up, it's much easier to say, screw it. Let me get out of the pocket and throw the ball away. But when you're losing or you're in a tight game, you're like, oh, we got to score. So he doesn't do it. And he holds the ball too long. And then he gets into all kinds of trouble and throws the pick. So look, it's a different game. There's no question about it. I felt we were the better team the whole time. I thought we were about to run it on. I thought we were about to crush them. I felt that we were so much better. We owned them. Our defense was crushing them. And if we would have had that big lead, all we had to do was hold them a little bit longer, and they would have had a just pass, like run. It would have been very hard for them to run down the clock. And we could have had them in that position where we could have just teed off and even had more than 6 sacks.
I couldn't agree more. Everything what you said was spot on. Some of these guys on Twitter and some of these guys in social media, they thought that, oh, man, screw that. That's what changed the game. Well, it did change the game because JFM has done it already. JFM has had some of those same calls for a while. And it's one of those things where he's got to adjust. I agree. No matter how many times you do it, like they are very tight on that. We've been through 8 weeks. They are going to continue to be tight on that. In the offseason, one of the rules is they were going to keep an eye on the quarterback more. And if you have a problem with that, JFM or whoever's doing on defense, you got to take it up your coaches or the league because you're going to continue to put our team in jeopardy because once we get like a major penalty like that, it just our team sinks. Like the confidence is down. They look flustered, everything. And also when it comes to Zach Wilson with the hero ball, it's he can make those throws. He can make those routes. Wilson constantly gets open. I just think if he could just chill a little bit, I think he will be fine. But with JFM though, if you were the coach, say you're Salah, Chaos, what would you do if JFM did that second or third or fourth time? Well, how would you handle that if you were a coach?
I would have sat him a little longer than they did. I wouldn't just take him out for a couple of plays because there probably would have already been a precedent set based on the past and what he's already done with some of those stupid penalties. So it was completely mental. It was him. It wasn't like a physical thing that's not in his control.
Mm-hmm.
And what it shows to me, but it's also on Salah and on, on the coaches, because clearly when once it happens, it's too late to change it, right? It shouldn't have happened because it's what they didn't do the last time it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously they didn't hold him accountable enough. I don't want to take a good player off the field. He's a very good player.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
But moving forward, we can't have this. Next year, like, for example, we want to win and make a wild card this year. Let's say we win 10 games and we get to the wild card, right? We get to the playoffs. Whether we
Exactly.
win a game or not. Next year, it's all out. Like, next year, we're coming into next season with the mindset of we want everything.
Exactly.
We want to win the division. We want to compete with Buffalo. We want to take the next step and compete with them. And we want to win playoff games and make a run. And it's no longer, it's just good enough to make the playoffs. Now we're going to say, let's take the next step and be a competitor for the Super Bowl, right? Well, guess what? Well, if we haven't got JFM, if we haven't held him accountable enough that we still have to worry that he can do things like this or will do things like this, that's a problem. So, again, it's that balance. Yeah, I want to win now. But at the same time, we got to think of the future. We got to know, and the accountability got to be there to make sure this kid understands that this cannot happen again.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot. I don't care if it's other teams, happens to all what people say. It doesn't
Right.
happen to other teams. It doesn't happen to New England.
Right.
Barely. It doesn't happen to Kansas City.
Yes.
Kansas City is not losing games because of that, because Andy Reid doesn't let it happen. So we got to stop looking at other teams that do it and realize, the teams that do it continually where it happens often, they're the teams that we're trying not to be anymore. We're trying to be a team that wins games consistently and doesn't beat themselves. So it's got to stop. It's got to end. And if it means benching them for a while or punishing them like that, they've got to do something, because, one of my favorite coaches that I grew up watching being in New York, that I have the most respect for, I watched him as a kid when I was young, coach of the Giants, and then obviously the Jets, was Bill Parcells. And Bill Parcells would never have tolerated this. Never.
I love everything you said is spot on. Everything. Bill Parcells was one of my favorite coaches back in the day too, and I love the Rex Ryan too. I mean, Rex Ryan wouldn't let that slip either, and he had a team full of different personalities. So it's one of those things where if it's like, say we get to that 10th game, right, where we need to win, like Miami, because if this gets Miami at the end of the season, it's like we can't have that happen. Because then this team will go down. This team will have to bounce back and continue to bounce back because of these penalties. When it comes to LaFleur, Ulbrich, everyone, I get that Ulbrich, he did good. He did his adjustments, and they're all good. But man, he's beyond them. He's beyond that front line, because that's one of our best things about our defense is our front line. So I agree with you, spot on. When it comes to LaFleur, okay, I'm going to LaFleur, I'm going to Ulbrich, I'm going to coaching. How do you think LaFleur is doing on the offense so far for the New York Jets?
I think he's fine. I mean, it's amazing how fast people will switch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing how it's like a roller coaster with Jets fans.
Yes.
We just played Green Bay, Denver, and New England. Look at how other teams did against them.
Yes.
New England's defense shut down Detroit at the time when Detroit was the highest scoring offense in the NFL. They were racking up points against everybody, and New England shut them out. Denver has kept everyone low, right? Every game that they play is ugly. No one looks good against them. And Green Bay is tough as well, and it's very hard to break them as well. So we beat Denver. We beat Green Bay. So Mike LaFleur put together a game plan that was good enough to win. And that's that. That's the end of the discussion. He did what he had to do. He wasn't going to put up 30 against them. He wasn't going to put up, there was not going to be this blowout kind of game. We did what we had to do. We controlled the ball. We didn't turn over. We didn't do horrible plays. and he won those 2 games. If you then you move forward and you fast forward and you come to New England again, he's not on the field. He's telling Zach not to do it. He's saying throw it away. They're saying throw it away, throw
Mm-hmm.
it away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, how they address it now as a coaching staff is important.
Yes.
But Zach didn't show that the first 4 games he played in. So this is the first time they're reacting to it. If he does the same stuff next week, you have to say, well, what's wrong with LaFleur? Why can't he get this kid to stop doing it? But understand, he came back from an injury, Zach. He came in late into the season, right? He came, game 4. He was 4-0. He wasn't turning the ball over like irresponsibly. He wasn't scrambling and being – I know he scares people when he scrambles.
Mm-hmm.
But he was getting rid of the ball on time. There were a couple of close calls, but he was getting the job done. Last week was the first time it happened. So it's not looking at the coach right now. It's looking at the response. If on Sunday he comes back and he's a game manager and he doesn't and he protects the ball and takes what he can get against a very good team, he'll have done his job, and that will reflect on the coaches. And also, I think Anthony in the chat makes a really great point. People are forgetting. We just lost a premier elite running back, a guy who was probably going to be all-pro his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seemed like every game, it seemed like he was breaking a 50, 60-yard touchdown. It was like he was good for a touchdown every game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take away your most valuable offensive lineman by far. Right? You're talking about a guy who played 3 different positions. You're taking your best football player on offense in AVT.
Exactly.
So you're taking those 2 guys out. Even with James Robinson coming in, he hasn't had enough weeks to learn the offense.
Exactly. Yes.
So, and he's not Breece Hall, and it doesn't change the fact that we're out AVT. I mean, we got some guy, I can't even say his name. What is it? Okuye? I don't even know his name playing right tackle.
Yeah, Cedric, right? Is it Cedric Abubia?
Abubia,
So.
and then we have Herbert playing right guard. I mean, come on, we're depleted.
Yes,
we're depleted. You got Corey Davis out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they're sticking to their guns with one thing. They're saying we can't just they definitely have Elijah in the doghouse. They didn't coincidentally only give him 4 or 5 reps. That was because he's in the doghouse, and that shows a little bit what I was talking about before. Yes, we want to win now, but you can't just let players do what they want. You got to keep everybody in line, and they had to show the team it's not okay. There's an expectation of professionalism that you have to follow. So it's just we were down. And Belichick, if out of any coach in the NFL right now, as much as we hate him and don't want to say it, he knows how to expose stuff like that.
Exactly. I know. Oh, I know. And Judon as well. Judon was ready for us. Belichick was ready for us. As much as we can complain and hate this organization, hate the Patriots, Belichick is good at exposing a lot of weaknesses. And even the corners were good too. Jones and Jones. I was talking about this week how worried I was only on 3 parts. Is Belichick exposing us, Judon, and also the Jones corners? Because for some reason, the Patriots have developed really great corners. It doesn't matter who they are. They could be off the street or something. So I was worried about that, and it happened. Now, overall, I know there's been a lot of, stuff going on with Elijah Moore and, fans saying, okay, they're not passing the ball enough. They're not getting the tight ends into it, the wide receivers into it. We can't get the running game going. Do you think that that's going to be cleared up down the line, or do you think are we in trouble when it comes to something like that? What do you think?
I think it's going to be cleared up down the line because we're still really young. Last year was the first year we implemented a very complex offense that's known to take time to implement. Then we go into year 2 and we bring in tons of new faces. We lose almost our entire offensive line, and are bringing guys off the scrap heap. Right. So you got all these guys learn. It's like a first year all over again. So many of these players are having to learn this system over again. And it's known to be a system that gets better and better through time. More reps, more reps. We just have to get healthy and stay healthy. You want to know when our offense will be fine. Our offense will be fine when we get an offensive line where maybe one guy gets hurt during the season for a couple of games or something like just average NFL. but all of our guys get pretty much our offensive line stays healthy. Like Indianapolis and Tennessee, when you look at
Mhm.
their great years, it's because their OL stays healthy, right? It starts
Mhm.
there. And then your receivers, guys like Garrett Wilson, who's a rookie,
Mhm.
gets more experience. He's learning the offense more and more. Then you got, Corey Davis. It will all happen for us. It was happening and it
Mhm.
will happen. But we are decimated with injuries and we played three of the worst games you can imagine playing as far as against defenses. To go the four now. I mean, to have to face Denver, Green Bay, New England, and Buffalo's defense 4 straight games is
Mhm.
outrageous. And they're going to
Mhm.
they make a lot of offenses look bad. So we just have to understand it'll work itself out through just the not having to, like obviously playing teams we match up better against, but then more importantly, getting healthy. So
Mhm.
next year we can actually, if we're healthy, we could step up and play and it won't be an excuse anymore. Like we'll be able to play against Buffalo because if
Mhm.
you have a healthy AVT, and I don't know who the offensive lineman will be, whether it's Becton
Right.
comes back, shocks us all, he comes back fit and ready to go, and this year he's
Yes.
healthy, or whether it's Dwayne Brown is back and healthy, and Max Mitchell comes, and whoever else we pick up, or whatever it is, we get on our offensive line, but it's more importantly AVT back where he belongs, Tomlinson there, right? We have everything set up, and they're able to get that continuity. Healthy offensive line. You got Garrett Wilson coming back his second year, right? Like you have everything clicking. Now we'll have an opportunity to compete because now maybe we have the offensive line that will win some battles and give Zach some clean
Mhm.
pockets, and he'll be used to
Yes.
these receivers. So we just got to be patient and give this team time to evolve
I
because
agree.
we really haven't had it.
Yes. And just like you said, going to the Super Bowl caliber team, next year, because the Bills have to win between now and the next 2 years because they have to pay everybody. The Jets are in a perfect position to not only go on a good route and a good plan. Like we don't have to pay some of these guys for like 3 or 4 years, so we can spend some money next year. We just need a few pieces left, and we are there. So I'm totally with you when it comes to the patience part on offense. And then going to the defense. With Olbrook, he made the changes for this defense. Do you like how Olbrook changed things up and now starting to come together? What do you think about the defense so far?
I suspect that Salah got involved in one specific thing that I would have a hard time believing because it was too much of a dramatic change that I would believe otherwise.
So,
The stunting, and the things that the defensive line is doing. I
mhm,
mean,
yes,
to me, it was like for the first year and like 3 games of this season, they were just going straight at the quarterback. I didn't
yes,
notice anything. Now
yeah,
all of a sudden I see guys not going and they slide to a step and then they go forward. All this moving
yeah,
around and trickery, and I'm like, somebody stepped up and said we need to stop being so vanilla, and we need to start confusing the offensive linemen a little bit. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very clearly, and so I think that he had some help, but also I think that they were basically saying what they were saying is like last year what we saw was we're putting in a system. We might
Yes,
not have the right guys for it yet, and it might look really ugly, but
yes,
we're not going to budge because if we budge, we'll never get to where we want to be. There's different
mhm,
ways to go about it. They did full immersification. They said, this is the offense, this is the defense. You're going to look really stupid and you're going to be really bad because there's no way you're going to know how to play this quickly because it's just not going to happen.
yes,
But we're not going to give in. We're going
mhm,
to wait to see who rises, who learns it and gets good at it.
yes,
We're going to replace the people who don't. We're going to be patient, but we are going to build the best version of this defensive scheme and this offensive scheme. The difference
yes,
between us and San Francisco is that, believe it or not, in some areas they had better players, right? I mean, they had like Nick Bosa, like for that defense, right? And
yes,
we're trying
sir.
to find that. So, but offensively, I think that we're building a better version because
I
what
agree.
Brees Hall is better than any running back the Niners have had by a mile,
Yes. Yes.
right? And then when you
Yes.
think we're not talking about just Debo, we're talking about, I mean, the Elijah thing kind of blew up in our face. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but Garrett Wilson's going to be special. We got Jeremy Ruckert developing, and we got some good tight ends, and so I think we're actually trying to build not just San Francisco's offense. I think we're trying to build a better version of it because the hope is Zach is going to evolve and then eventually take off and be much better than Jimmy G ever was. So I'm very hopeful for this offense. I know people don't like to hear it because we've lost for so long and we've been through so much as fans, but I think we have to hang in there and be patient a little bit longer. And I'm hoping that getting to 5-3 is going to buy that time, at least with the fan base, because it's unbearable to be a podcaster when the fans are completely turning on the team and not willing to be at all patient. We have to remember where we came from. 2 years
Exactly.
ago, 2 years ago, we were Adam Gase, misery, barely any talent on the roster. Think of it. Our two best players 2 years ago was Becton and Mims.
I know. It's still crazy to me.
Guys, as far as future.
Still crazy to me. Still crazy to me. Because even the best teams that we've also had was 2015 and 2010. But what Joe Douglas has done the last 2 years, not only have we been really good in the draft, probably the best draft in football history and the Jets history was this past year. These guys coming, Sauce, JJ2, I can go on and on, Garrett Wilson. Do you think overall have they've kind of lifted us up more and more than some of the veterans? Do you think, are you shocked that they're progressing quicker? What do you think?
It's always surprising when a rookie is right away excellent in contributing.
Yes.
Because I think we expect that, but it's the only one that didn't surprise me is Sauce Gardner.
Exactly.
I don't know why. Because cornerback, I'm usually very skeptical. I'm usually not even willing to believe a corner. Like I always thought, my big thing was up until this year was cornerbacks are always rolling the dice. You never really know. Like it's the most risky position, and it's like Sauce Gardner. I never had a doubt.
Me too.
When you watched his college play, when you watched him in the combine, and then his swagger, there was no question in my mind. He just was a star in every way. He just shines right through. I never had a doubt. When Houston didn't take him, I was so, and we did. I was shocked because I thought we were taking Thibodeau. But man, when we got JJ at 26, then the Sauce Gardner pick hit me. It was like, we got the edge, we got the wide receiver, and we got Sauce Gardner. Oh my God, because there was no question in my mind. But Garrett Wilson, the explosion he had, and against Cleveland, and just knowing what he is and clearly seeing how good he is, it's just a beautiful thing. And Brees Hall was another one that I felt. I think people are not understanding how good he really is.
I know.
But I didn't expect from game one, when you saw him playing in preseason and then game one and game two, for it to happen that fast. Because literally each week was like, it was like he was gaining 5 games of experience every game. Because by the time he got to like the third or fourth game, it was over. He was already a top NFL running back.
Exactly.
Yeah, his progression was just so fast. That injury is just the injury is so brutal in so many ways.
I know injuries suck, man. Injuries just suck overall. People were like giving me crap on how, you saw this coming, Well, if you see JD's past reputation, also Salah's reputation with San Francisco, what JD's done with the Eagles and the Ravens, I mean, I'm not shocked that any of this is coming, because we have to shut down these wide receivers. I mean, you got Hill in the league, you got Waddle, you got Parker, you got Myers, you got Diggs, you got Gabriel Davis. I wanted Sauce all the way. And when they took Stingley, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get Sauce Gardner. We're going to shut these crappers down. I loved every minute of it. And then I was like, JD is not done because every time when something has happened in the offseason, he continues to surprise us with the people they pick. So I'm not shocked he went up to go get JJ2. I'm not shocked he went up to go get Brees Hall. Everything that he's done, that JD has done, has been surprising to everyone, but it's the kind of GM that he is. He wants to win now. Not only does he want to win now, he's putting all these young guys to develop together. So everything is going according to plan, according to JD and Salah. So I love that. Anthony
Yeah.
Bark has a question for us. Oh, sorry, we're here. You can say.
I was quickly going to say that Joe Douglas realizes that we can get solid players other ways than the draft. Like you can get solid players or okay players and starters.
Exactly.
Because the draft is to get your stars, because you can't go out and pay $30 million a year. And, so the draft is for finding stars. And that's what that was about. Trade up, get Brees Hall. Trade up, get JJ. Trade up and get Brees Hall. The other guys, I can get them different ways. And guess what? I still saved myself 2 4th-round picks. And look what I turned that into. Michael Clemens and
Max Mitchell.
And Max Mitchell. So that's the beautiful thing about JD. He gets it. He understands that you need to. That's what you do. You use this. You got to develop your own superstars, and that's what we're now doing. It's not over. It's not over. There's gonna be a draft every year, and every year we're gonna see the magic of this GM.
It's refreshing. It's refreshing. Gino, did you guys give your opinions on Moore? We touched base on it a little bit, but you could touch base first, Chaos, on Moore real quick.
Yeah, look, I think he's in the doghouse. I hope that they work it out. It's a hit to us. It's bad for us if obviously it's a punch in the stomach.
Yes.
Because if you have to trade him, eventually next year, or if he's going to only play minimal reps this year and be unhappy, and eventually we have to unload him for something, it's like people might say, "Oh, good, it's the right thing to do," but it's still not good. What would have been better is if he would have kept his mouth shut, been a team player, just did his best, kept working, waited for his opportunity. And if it never happened, your contract year, whatever it is, after you finish your first 3 years, you start talking about wanting a trade. And that nobody can argue with you. You don't do it, you do it at the end. But second-year players, that's, like in the early part of the second season you're on the team and the team finally wins 4 games in a row the first time in 7-8 years, that's not the time where you come and sit there and start thinking about yourself and saying, I demand a trade. So now he's in the doghouse. I hope they find a way, because I think the kid is talented, and it's like it would be great not to have to worry how we're replacing Elijah Moore, because I would rather go into the future having Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, and we get Corey Davis, who we see how valuable he is, and we got him on the cheap still, because next year he'll cost $11 million or whatever it is. That's super inexpensive for a wide receiver. So we're in a great position if Elijah Moore would just calm down, and just be patient. Just be patient a little bit longer. We'll get through this Buffalo game, right? Then we got to play New England again. I mean, it's ridiculous how that is. But then when you look at the schedule, there's going to be games where we're going to open up the passing game.
And not only that, we're facing against Miami too. We have to face everybody one more time after the Bills. And the later on in the schedule gets, like, we can still beat these guys. The only team that I'm only honestly up in the air about is the Vikings, because the Vikings are always tough to play against, in my personal opinion. So I think it's going to be good overall. Truman, I was actually going to ask you this question too, but Truman brought it up. So thank you for the question. Any trades we almost made, and I believe that we will win versus the Patriots versus the bye. So he's basically asking any trades that you almost saw coming, or do you think that they would have gotten? What do you think?
I don't. It's hard to know, because I didn't hear. I know we were named in rumors. I don't trust rumors. I only trust things I hear from Ian Rappaport. There are certain guys. If Ian Rappaport is saying something, this guy is not a clickbait guy. He's a guy that actually knows how to get information. The agents talk to him. The teams talk to him. When I hear it from anybody else, I just don't believe it, because there's no way to decipher between. Someone will say something to get clicks. It's just what people do.
Yes.
Right. So they just want clicks. They want you to read their articles, so that, and they'll say whatever they have to do to get you interested. So I think it's impossible for us to know what went on. I guarantee you this, though, from what we've seen and what they've shown us,
Yes.
JT was on his phone. He didn't leave
Yeah.
his
Oh, yeah.
he didn't leave his seat for 2
Yeah.
days. He had plenty of targets with certain value that he was calling about, he was checking in about, he was answering calls, but he's not an emotional guy. He's not a guy who at the last hour is going to say, oh, well, I got to get something done. Let me give in. He doesn't give in.
Exactly.
He has his
Exactly.
value and he sticks to his value. And I know it could be frustrating. In the beginning, it really was like the Marcus May situation. There were a lot of frustrated Jet fans for a while, but there's no way anybody could sit there and say that he hasn't done enough for us to trust him. Trust his
Exactly.
process.
Exactly.
Sometimes we're not going to get the guy we want, but trust his process because overall, it's the right mentality, value, not emotion.
I couldn't agree more. I love what you said. So Abby has said something about I'm tired of rebuilding with these QBs. We need to get it right. Zach Wilson, number 2 pick. I was worried from the jump, but he's our QB, so I'm with him. I think I think Jets fans in general are feeling like that. I know me and Chaos see everything differently because we still don't know what this kid could really do. Like we've seen flashes of it, but give him a full second year because we gotta let's be honest. Allen wasn't good till his 3rd year. Breeze wasn't good till his 3rd year. Manning wasn't good till his 3rd year. God judge him on a 2 to 3 years because he also got hurt a couple times. So for me, I don't judge until the end of the year. I know Chaos feels kind of the same way. We're talking about Elijah Moore with Anthony with this one. I'm worried about him bringing that negative attitude into such a young, positive locker room. Am I overthinking that? No, I don't think you're overthinking that, in my opinion, Anthony. I think this team is just ready to roll. We haven't seen a Jets team like that that's just ready to roll and be positive and believe in their coach. They want to play for Salah. Like they love this guy. So, what do you think about this comment, Chaos?
Yeah, no, look, that's exactly why they sent him home. For the day. That's why they did that. They didn't give him a lot of reps for the same reason because they're setting a tone and they're setting a precedent that you can't do what he was doing.
Yes.
It's a legitimate worry, and believe me, they will inactivate him if he goes too far, and if they notice that. So believe me, Salah's much more worried than you, Anthony, and he's much more worried than me.
Right.
No one's
Right.
more worried. No
Exactly.
one's more worried than our coaches because they are working really hard to build a very specific culture. And if this guy starts to blow up that culture, believe me, he'll be out of there. Anytime you see him active and even playing, it means he's doing the right thing to get back
Exactly.
into their good graces. Because I promise you, if he's bringing negative vibes into that locker room,
Oh yeah.
you'll know it because he won't be on the field. He'll be inactive.
The 60%. The 60%. Good stuff. Anthony said, like and subscribe to our channels, man. We appreciate that, Anthony. We're big fans of the Jet Lounge, what you guys do over there as well. Chaos is always a great guest, and his channel is awesome as well. And appreciate the
He's asking if
support.
I have a channel. All you got to do is type in Jets
Right,
Chaos on the
right,
search. You'll
right.
find me.
Exactly. Ain't that funny? Ain't that funny? I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. My last question for you. Well, actually, I got two. I got two questions. One, what do you think the special teams has been? Do you like what special teams has been doing so far, going into Bills week?
Well, they didn't have their best game last week, but overall, I'm thrilled. My one complaint about our special teams is that our punter, he has such potential and he does some great things for us.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it seems like 1 out of every 6 punts, he just whiffs it.
I know, right?
And he's got to stop it because it's like a turnover. A 20-yard punt is a turnover. It's like throwing a 20-yard pass on 3rd down and they intercepted it. It's a turnover.
Yes.
When you punt, you're playing field position. You can't punt a 20-yard punt.
Mm-hmm.
So he seems to do it too much. Otherwise, I like him. But he does, but it's too often. It's not like a field goal kicker where sometimes they're going to miss. Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. It's not that kind of situation. It's a punter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they should whiff 1 out of 25 punts.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen a lot. It shouldn't happen a lot.
Right.
We've had punting, David Jennings, who played forever for the Giants and Jets. He played till he was
Yes.
80. right?
Mm-hmm.
You never saw him do it. I don't have no
Yes.
memory of him whiffing on a punt.
I know,
So
right?
it's just you got.
That's crazy, dude. Crazy. Because then you bring in a guy like Zerline too, right? It's like I know my history with Zerline with the Rams, but like he's been doing good. But I think if he didn't miss that field goal, I think we would have made it a lot tighter in that Patriots game, in my opinion. What do you think of Hardy's leadership on the special teams, and what do you think about Zerline beating out Eddie Pinheiro with everything going on?
I mean, look, they see what we don't see. I was
Right.
surprised by it. I thought Panero did everything we asked him to do, but they see what he
Exactly.
didn't see. I'm happy with how Zerline's playing. I feel he's having the best season we've seen from a kicker in a Jet
Yes.
uniform in a long time.
I love that.
So hopefully he'll keep it up. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be missed field goals and all that's going to happen. It happens to every field goal kicker in the league now. But what's nice is he's being as accurate as average to above average in just any distance, and he's one of the guys that gives you a chance from 55 out.
Oh,
So
yeah, there you go. I love that.
if we can get average to good, above average accuracy from
Yes.
inside 45 yards, and he's a guy who can give us 55, like we could have the possibility and know that we can get in field goal range, even if it's a 55-yard field goal, and we have one of those kind of guys. Those two together make him a good kicker to have on your team.
Agreed. For me, I'm always up and down about him, but the facts are right, and I do agree with you. Anthony said a comment about, did you see the miss running into the kicker on that field goal and a terrible call by the refs? It was a no call. Was it the Patriots game? Is he talking about?
Yeah. They ran into our kicker and it wasn't called.
Yeah.
Their touchdown was offensive pass interference and it wasn't called.
There you go.
It happens to us all the time. It's unbelievable,
Yes,
and
always,
especially
always.
against the Patriots. Yeah, there's the answer to that is winning. We
Yeah,
got to just keep winning. We got to overcome it and win. We got to become a playoff team, and it'll start to change. But there's a bias against weaker teams, and teams that are perceived as bad teams, and we're still perceived as one of the weaker, lower teams. And
exactly.
you're gonna see that, and that's up to the league to fix. They've got to fix that and find a way to get some, to get it to the refereeing and the officiating to be more just completely even and not biased. But it clearly is. It clearly is. And it's not just the Patriots, all winning teams, like the winning organizations at the moment in time, like any of the winning elite franchises, they
Yes,
get the calls and they don't get the calls called against them. It's a common thing. It's not an exaggeration. The stats back it up. So, hey, I
agreed.
gotta run. Unfortunately, my wife is in a
That's fine.
killer. I don't come
That's
downstairs.
fine. No problem. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, because hey, Jets Chaos. Somebody already did. I appreciate that. Jets Chaos. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. If you want to stay up, I do a live show. I got guests. Bring guests. Italy Jet was a guest. He will be again eventually. I hang out sometimes on Fridays, and I bring in guests and we hang out. And I try to put out a video at least once every 48 hours. So sharing my takes. So I appreciate anybody who wants to subscribe. If you like what I have to say, if you want to hear more of my takes, it's well appreciated. It's the best support I can ask for as a sub.
Awesome, man. Jets Chaos, thank you for coming on the show, and you have a great rest of your night, my man.
All right. Take care, man. I had a great time. I can't wait to do it again with you.
Appreciate you, my man. You have a great night.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on for listening to me and Jets Chaos. Good friend of the show. I go on his show quite a bit as well. You can find us at Everything NYJ Podcast. Here is where you can find us as well. You can find me as well on all these social media platforms as well. Back and forth, Brees Hall. My bad, I was in this one. But we appreciate you guys with the comments and everything. We're going to take Wednesday. We're not going to be back this week or Friday, but Thursday we'll be back in the post-game show on Sunday as well, Italy Jet post-game show. I want you to like, subscribe in the comments. Tell me what you think about going into this Bills game and also going into the bye week. Tell me what you guys think. We appreciate you. You guys have a great one. Jet up, baby.